If a new agent in your office came to you asking how to get to the point where they're grossing $500,000 a year, would you know what to tell them? What's happening? I'm J.C Agajanian, broker associate with the Whissel Realty Group at EXP, bringing you the recap of the Fast Forward Movement's Monday Morning Mastermind as usual. And today we've got a couple great topics we're going through. First of all, going from brand new to $25 million in production. How are we going to make this happen? And the next one is, once you have a good amount of income coming in, where are you putting your money? What are you investing in? So, two really interesting topics. Let's get straight into it. First things first, when talking about helping someone go from either straight up beginning or maybe a slightly above beginner level production up to that $25 million a year or so production level, we've got to have the basics covered. More than knowledge or a bunch of notes written down on what to do, we have got to have the drive and the consistency in place first and foremost. It doesn't matter how much you know, if you're not going to put things into place, like quickly, effectively move these ideas into action, none of it matters. So, as we usually do, we take a step back, talk about the kind of the big picture stuff. That's it. First and foremost, we got to have the drive, the consistency, the organization, and the productivity in place in order to get to that type of level of production. Focus on the basics after that. Are we being productive with our days? How's your calendar looking? We talk about calendaring so much in our business because it always comes back to that. We lose 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour and a half constantly without even realizing where that time is going. And yet we still feel like we've had a busy day. We still feel like we've been productive and that we've had a lot done. A lot of times it's because it's lots of insignificant crap that is not moving the needle forward, right? So, are we truly being productive with our days? Are we truly being honest with ourselves about the actual hours that we are living through? Are they matching what's written on that calendar? Is it real? Let's set the stage first, right? And then another bit of a kind of a big picture mental space type of comment before we get into some logistics is the concept of having to be selfish in order to be able to be selfless. So like if you don't have your own calendar dialed, if you don't have your own production going well, if you don't have money coming in, you're not going to be able to really be present with your family when you're not at work. You're not going to be able to maybe take up a mentor position for a newer agent and help them grow. You're not going to be able to give to that charity if you don't have a surplus of your own. You have got to be selfish first before you can be selfless. It sounds crazy, kind of counterintuitive, and a little bit spacey, but if you think about it below the surface, it actually makes a lot of sense. So let's focus on the big stuff first before we get too far into the details. In order to really level up, you've got to bring on your first assistant, your first admin, some sort of help. You've got to get help. If you're really in a position where you're looking to go from kind of either beginner level or average kind of production to really stepping it up, you can't do it on your own. Everybody that's gotten to the next level, whether it's 0 to 25 or 25 to 50 million, or some of these teams running 100, 200 million in production or more, it's not one guy or gal doing it all, right? And it starts at this beginning spot. If you don't have someone helping you out, you're gonna be buried and you're never gonna be able to move to the next level. So before you hire that buyer's agent or anybody else, get yourself some help. Could be a part-timer at first, could be a live in-person assistant, it could be a virtual assistant overseas that's full-time. However you sort this out for yourself, take some of the things that are not the highest dollar productive activities for you and your business off the table and get some help with them. If you hate it, hire it out. Like, bottom line, take everything off the table that you don't really want to do or really should be doing because it's one of the things that drives your business, and get some help with the rest, okay? So first of all, mindset, productivity, organization, and then now we're already making some money, but in order to get to this bigger money, we're gonna have to hire it out, and that means you need to get a little bit of help, right? So focus on talking to people, converting conversations to appointments. I mean, it's It's the basics, really. But one of the things, once you've got a lot of the stuff that keeps you busy during the day off your table because you've got some help doing that thing, we have to just focus on the things that drive transactions, right? Conversations about real estate that will lead to appointments. That's where your focus needs to be all the time. And there's lots of different ways to have these conversations. We've got them, you've heard them all, right? You got cold calls, you got door knocking, expireds, FSBOs, online leads. It doesn't matter where they come from. Open houses, you need to have these real estate conversations. These conversations should be managed well, meaning you know your scripts. You know how to take a conversation and you have a certain predetermined end goal, which is an appointment, and you know how to navigate it there. That's just knowing your scripts. Knowing them so well that you don't need the page in front of you, that you've got it just internalized so you can ask the right questions and make it a logical conclusion that we're going to sit down and talk more about this, right? So you have to have studied, you have to have your scripts down, you have to be working to have these conversations on a daily basis that leads to appointments, and appointments will lead to business. And when you're focusing on $25 million volume of production or any kind of dollar amount, $500,000 in GCI, those are great numbers, great goals to have written down, but really what we ought to be focusing on in practicality is our transaction count, not necessarily that overall volume. And the reason is you get busy, you get momentum, and you get consistent, and money is coming in more so than is going out, and you're building a head of steam, right? You're getting better with each transaction that you do. You're gaining more experience, and increasing your price point to give yourself that raise, to increase the overall production level of volume, is something you can focus on in the near future or down the road. But right now, wherever you're at, let's just focus on transaction count, keeping the numbers consistent, and then pushing those up. And then if we need to maybe move into a higher priced neighborhood or do something else that isn't because you're not satisfied with where you're at, that's a different project. But getting busy, let's just focus on the transaction count and keep going. Another thing that's really important is to stay away from that age-old shiny object syndrome, right? I mean, we cannot be distracted with every cool new piece of tech or lead source or mentor program or coaching system that comes our way. We've got to take what we think is going to help us get to where we're going with as little extra as possible, right? We just got to be laser focused on this, and being pulled away by things that could be very cool, very helpful, very meaningful to other people's business. It may not be appropriate for your business right now. Maybe it will be appropriate for your business in the future, but right now, stick to the basics. Like, stick to what is working well for you, and that could be a lot of different things depending on what kind of business you run, but don't be just led astray by every cool thing that pops up all the time, because it will distract you and it will pull away from you increasing that transaction count and eventually increasing your volume. So keep that in mind. Most of this kind of conversation about how to increase from wherever you're at, whether it's beginning or maybe 5 or 10 million to 25 million production, is around the basics. And we'll leave you with a final thought, which is still very basics. Work your CRM. If you don't have one, I mean, come on, it's a whole nother conversation, but work your CRM well. Treat every single lead like it's gold. Know where they're at, stage them appropriately, contact them with the appropriate amount of time given where you've staged them. Ask them for referrals. Make your brand noticeable. Like, these are all basic things that we need to do, but if we really key in on those basics and focus on them, the results will be meaningful. So those are our tips for getting someone who's either completely new or someone in a more entry-level type production to get to these big numbers that some of the top dogs in town are getting. Let's assume we've got tons of money and it's time to invest, be wise with what we've earned. Where are we going to put this money? Well, as you can imagine, in a room full of hundreds of real estate agents who do very well, you could guess the first answer to that question, and it's going to be doors. Buy investment property. Obviously, we're all believers in real estate. This is what we do for work. For me personally, it's the whole reason I got into real estate. It was because as a kid, a teenager, moving through high school, but mostly in the college years, not knowing exactly what I wanted to do for work, what I did know is that when I got the money, I wanted to buy doors. And so I ended up circumventing whatever that was in the middle and just going straight into the business. So most of us are fans of investing in real estate. And whether that's a single family home, 2 to 4 unit property, whether it's 5+ in commercial, get in where you fit in. Do what works for you. But your net worth will grow with property appreciation, with rental income, with mortgage pay down, with property depreciation. There are a plethora of advantages and different ways you will benefit from investing in real estate. I don't have to tell you this, you're a realtor yourself, but we had to say that to start, right? Of course, after that, you know as well as anybody else that you need to diversify. We can't put all our money into one thing. So a great tip that one person mentioned was like, he just has a small portion pulled out of his banking account, checking account or savings account every month, and he's just buying the Dow or he's just buying the S&P. He's just going into the biggest indexes that are there, and he's just little by little dollar cost averaging in. I don't know if he's doing it weekly or monthly, but he's doing it on a regular basis all the time so that he's got some of his money going into the stock market. The majority of his money is going into real estate. Diversify if you can. It's a great idea, and it's not an original idea. Obviously, you know this as well. Another class or idea of places to put your money is vehicles that pay out dividends. Mutual funds pay out dividends. A lot of the blue chip stocks are paying out dividends. Owning something that in the stock world or the investment world outside of real estate that actually pays dividends is a lot more similar to owning an investment property, because you have an asset that's going to be presumably going up over time, right? Depending on the business you're buying into or the mutual fund. But in addition, like your duplex that you've purchased that's going to go up over time, you're getting dividends. So that's kind of like the rental income that you get from some of these investments. So as you diversify, consider vehicles that are going to be paying out as you go as well. Becoming an accredited investor will allow you to go into limited partnerships for startups and other businesses, other opportunities. There's a large, almost unending source of new tech that's coming out all the time. You can get into groups and online networks that focus on that. Actually, Grant Cardone has a great network of people who are focused in the tech space, and they're investing in that. So if you're interested there, he's got, I think, a club that you can learn and participate in on that front. Becoming an accredited investor also allows you to get into certain types of syndication investments. Examples would be industrial spaces, self-storage spaces, mobile home parks. These are really nice, high-yielding investment strategies that someone, a general partner, as opposed to your limited partner, the LP, has organized. And they're taking off this huge piece of property that is clearly something that's going to take more than one person to buy. And they create a syndication, and you can literally go in and own a small portion of that. You're not going to take any phone calls with issues. You're not going to have any headaches. You're literally just going to have mailbox money coming in. So that's a syndication group of some sort is another great way to go. Setting up a self-directed 401k is another good way to sock away some money and to grow it. And then, you can move it out of there depending on what you plan on doing with the money. You can go into other properties or investments or syndications like I just mentioned a minute ago. Another thing that is little known really to most people, but a really ingenious strategy to go about investing is technically a life insurance plan, right? But it's really an investment vehicle. Instead of using a term policy like so many people get just to protect their family in the event that something goes wrong, we're talking about plans that are really set to grow and acquire significant gains over time. And some of these things are really nice, big, juicy plans, but they're kind of cost preventative. Another great way to make some solid money is to become the lender yourself. You can buy mortgage notes, and same thing, you can take that mailbox money every month. And the coolest thing about becoming the lender, and you don't have to become a mortgage lender like we think of, obviously, you can become a lender to maybe one person or two people, not on a grand scale, but you still follow the same rules. You're going to take a either first or second place position on the property. If in the worst case scenario, the loan defaults, you are the first one to take advantage of the asset that has secured that loan. So buying notes is a great way to make solid gains, especially if you're the lender. That means that the borrower likely wasn't a good candidate for traditional financing, which means you're going to get higher interest on your money than even current rates offer, which are still significantly better than most other investment vehicles that you might be putting money into right now. So that's a little bit of a paradigm shift for you right there, and something pretty cool to look into. I mentioned before, but I'll mention it again, storage units, mobile home parks, other projects like these. A lot of them will fall into that syndication group theory that I mentioned as well, but they have nice yields also. So finally, the truly next level thing from my perspective is taking advantage of some of the whole or universal life policies that you can purchase, really big policies, $10, $20 million policies on your own. You can actually finance the premiums on some of those and take tax-free money not too far down the road, significantly better than some sort of investment account or IRA or 401k, right? Because you are now out of bed with the government with a product like this. So I'd be happy to chat more with you if you're interested in doing something like that. But that's going to wrap our conversation today. First of all, figuring out how to go from 0 to 25 million. And of course, what are you going to do? Where are you putting your money in this day and age? I hope this has been helpful for you. As usual, I hope there's something in here that you can implement into your business or your investment strategy. Of course, I'm always happy to chat. Send me a message right here. Talk to you soon.